Although the tablet seems to have passed its prime, I believe this segment remains an interesting one. Sure, there are also boring models, meant to be nothing more than glorified multimedia machines, allowing you to catch up on the latest season of your favorite show and play a few games now and then. But today we'll talk about two special tablets, namely the latest iteration of Legion Tab, one of the few gaming dedicated tablets on the market, and the more generalist model, so to speak, the Yoga Tab Plus. Although both are tablets, their purposes are extremely different, so we will analyze them one by one and determine whether they are worth the attention. And let's start with the so-called gaming tablet, Legion Tab Gen 3. I tested the previous model, and despite a few notable shortcomings, I had a good opinion about it at the time. Now the moment has come to see if my humble critiques have been addressed or not. And we begin with one of the most important aspects of a product: raw power. Legion Tab Gen 2 was equipped with the venerable Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, while Legion Tab Gen 3 steps up with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. It's not the elite model, but it's still good, and the performance boost from one generation to the next is immense. Games ran fine on the old model, but if you want the best experience, this power leap might be appealing to you. In Geekbench 6, Legion Tab Gen 3 scored nearly 7,000 points in multi-core, an excellent value both for now and for the future, when the inevitable Android updates start piling up and low-powered devices begin to struggle. I don't expect that to happen here, so this model with the 8 Gen 3 should serve you perfectly for several years without issues in any game or application. I ran both Call of Duty Warzone Mobile and Black Desert Online Mobile on the tablet, and both titles ran perfectly at max settings without any lag or stutter. If these two, which are considered among the most demanding titles on Android, run smoothly, then you won't have any trouble regardless of what you choose to play. Additionally, the tablet didn't heat up too much even after an hour-long session, a massive improvement over the previous generation, which could get quite hot if pushed hard. One thing that remains unchanged, and which I appreciate, is the solid construction. The chassis is made entirely of metal, it is relatively thin, and at 350 grams it's not too heavy, so the tablet does not become tiring after many hours of intense use. In the box you'll find an included plastic case with three functions. First, it protects against shocks. Second, it helps dissipate heat. And third, it allows you to mount a cover that can be turned into a kickstand, perfect for a desk or an airplane tray table. The screen hasn't changed much either. The 2.5K resolution remains, along with a maximum brightness of 500 nits, an 8.8-inch diagonal and HDR support. What does change is the refresh rate, which jumps from a respectable 144 Hz to 165. For my eyes, this 21 Hz difference is almost invisible, and I don't think it should be the reason for upgrading if you have the old model, but I won't complain about a faster screen. The panel quality is good, though it is still IPS and not OLED. Maybe the next model will fix that, but as it is, the image is clear and sufficiently attractive. The lack of deep blacks of OLED is more noticeable in movies and TV series, where dark scenes look washed out, but in games it is easy to ignore. The speakers are largely the same as those on the previous model, and there is plenty of volume for a product of this size, with decent clarity up to around 80% volume. Beyond that, the sound tends to become cluttered and slightly distorted, but in most usage scenarios you won't need to turn it up to the maximum. The generous 6550 mAh battery remains, but real autonomy increases slightly thanks to the more efficient chipset. Lenovo also includes a 65-watt power brick, which charges the battery fairly quickly when you run out of juice and want to fire up some Call of Duty with the guys. I also appreciate the two USB-C ports, one on the bottom edge and one on the side, placed like this to facilitate charging while the tablet is in use. Wi-Fi 7 is also present here, as does the Bluetooth 5.4 standard. The 12GB LPDDR5X RAM remains from the previous model, as does the 256GB storage, but I find it odd that the micro SD card slot is missing. Sure, Android games don't take up that much space, but I would have liked the option to expand storage if needed. It is worth mentioning that both tablets have cameras, but in my opinion, the days of taking photos with a tablet are long gone, and even a budget smartphone takes better pictures than today's tablets. They are fine for a quick snap of the gas meter or for online conferences, but that's about it. The Legion Tab is available for $500, and if all you care about is playing games in the best conditions, it is an excellent option. The relatively small screen is not ideal for multimedia consumption, so if you binge Netflix, consider a slightly larger display. An OLED screen would have been better, but the included IPS panel is not bad, and I believe the price is competitive. And now, let's turn our attention to the Yoga Tab Plus, a tablet that may seem ordinary at first glance, but has a few tricks up its sleeve. The first and most important is undoubtedly the included pen. Although we're not dealing with a matte display that mimics paper, the stylus tip glides smoothly over the screen surface and latency is very low, comparable to an iPad Pro with Apple Pencil, I dare say, which is no small feat. I have come across plenty of so-called productivity tablets that include a stylus just for marketing purposes, but in reality, those pens are often almost unusable due to high delay and lack of feedback when writing or drawing. And if we have already established that latency is well handled, what truly surprised me about the Yoga Tab Plus is the feedback you get when using the pen. Lenovo was smart and did something I haven't seen elsewhere. They included a small vibration motor inside the stylus, which changes everything. The vibrations are the cherry on top, and if you write or draw long enough, you can almost trick your brain into thinking you are working on a paper rather than on a tablet. The truth is that Lenovo seems to have found a very practical solution. You see, a matte screen has to deal with minor drawbacks related to image quality. On a display that does not have a diffuse layer on top, the brightness and colors are more vivid and pleasant, and your finger glides more smoothly over a normal glass surface than over a matte one. Additionally, the feeling of writing on paper is compensated here by the vibrations in the pen, so you get the best of both worlds without sacrificing too much in return. And what a display we have here! With a massive 3K resolution, a 12.7-inch diagonal, a maximum brightness of 900 nits with Dolby Vision support, and 100% DCI-P3 spectrum coverage, the display on the Yoga Tab Plus is magnificent. It is IPS and not OLED, so blacks are not as deep, but even so, I was impressed by how good this screen looks. The high 144Hz refresh rate ensures that the tablet moves smoothly through the menus or when scrolling, a claim further reinforced by the included chipset. It features a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, last year's flagship from Qualcomm, which, although clearly surpassed by its successor, the 8 Elite, still delivers extremely good performance in any scenario. Take for example Geekbench 6, where the result is exactly as expected, nearly 7,000 points in multi-core. The 8 Gen 3 is still a highly capable and powerful chip, so this device should serve you well for several years to come without any concerns about processing power. It also comes with a serious amount of memory, 16 gigs LPDDR5X RAM, so you can make full use of the screen's gorgeous dimensions for multitasking. The 256GB of storage onboard is sufficient, that is, unless you plan to store very large files internally. Speaking of which, be aware the storage cannot be expanded with a microSD card. Another important aspect is the speakers, no fewer than 6 in total, 2 tweeters and 4, yes, you heard that right, 4 subwoofers. This translates into a loud and powerful sound, but with mids that leave something to be desired. The mid frequencies fall to the responsibility of the tweeters and subwoofers, which, although of good quality, are not dedicated mid-range speakers. This means that while we have plenty of bass and highs, the overall sound is somewhat confusing, especially at maximum volume. Lowering the decibels improves the situation, but I think this is an area where Lenovo still has some work to do. On the other hand, the battery department is very solid. With a 10,200 mAh battery, the tablet discharges quite slowly, but when you inevitably need to charge it, you have a 45-watt brick included in the package. Also in the package, along with the stylus and the charger, Lenovo included a cover case with a keyboard and trackpad, so this tablet could also be suitable for more serious productivity. The key travel is short and does not offer the best typing experience, but I think I could get used to it after extended use. The trackpad is also okay, nothing extraordinary, but precise enough not to become annoying. In terms of connectivity, the Yoga Tab Plus boasts support for Bluetooth 5.4 alongside Wi-Fi 7, the latest, fastest and most stable standard for wireless internet. Slowly but surely, prices for Wi-Fi 7 capable routers and access points are starting to drop, so it's good to know that if you choose to buy this tablet, you will benefit from these features even when you decide it's time for a home network upgrade. Yoga Tab Plus is about $600, which I think is a fair price for what you get. For this money, you get both the keyboard cover with a trackpad and a very nice stylus, and if you take a lot of notes and prefer handwriting over typing, then this model should be on your list. It has a few shortcomings, such as the uninspired speaker setup, but overall I find it to be a complete package at a fair price. And that's it. We stop here, and now you tell me in the comments below, which of today's two devices seems more interesting to you? The Maxi tablet, Tab Plus, or the so-called gaming tablet, Legion Tab? Subscribe to our Tiny Tech channel. Thank you, and I wish you all the best.